everybody, welcome to another video. My name is Infiniti, and if you don't know, I'm the face, the voice, and the hands behind all the content that you see here on Infiniti Crafting Co. and behind the website InfinitiCraftingCompany.com. Today I bring you channel chat 126, and it is day 9 of Vlogust, so we've really been sticking in there. Today's topic is going to be about knitting and how I got into it, why I got into it, and the reason why I almost did not cover knitting on this channel. May shock you, may not if you've been around for a while. I have a pot for today to show off at the end of the video, so make sure you stick around to the end for that, and I will be sure to leave the link to this pot in my description box below, so if you want to check it out on the website, you can. I will make mention at the top of this video, I am running a month-long sale in the Handmade Shop, my store on my website, for 15% off all month long, and all you have to do is put in the code BTS23 at checkout to apply it to your order. Thanks in advance for everybody who supports this channel through my handmade work. Alright, so, I was going to talk about the knitting thing, but first I did want to show this off because I don't think I did the other day. I finished it. I finished my water bottle holder, and I have taken pictures of it, so that will be up in the shop later as well, along with all the other ones that I've shown off in the last few weeks. I don't know when I'm going to get around to making more of them. Unfortunately, at the moment I have run out of tags to sew onto them, and I don't really want to make a bunch of them and have them unbranded now that I've started doing this thing, so we'll see when I can get more tags in the future. Alright, let's talk about knitting. So I mentioned how in a previous episode how I got into crocheting. It was actually my youthful ambition to learn how to knit. I'd never heard of crochet until I got basically into fiber art. I guess it's like, I don't think it's a lesser known craft, but I think back when I was thinking about fiber arts initially, it wasn't as popular as it is now. Of course, crocheting has become kind of mainstream and whatnot. But anyway, so knitting was my ambition, and I ended up learning crochet first and picked up on it very easily. In my opinion, it is a lot easier to pick up on crochet, but I have heard people say that they struggled more with the crochet than they did the knitting. Fair enough. It took me 2 whole years after I learned crochet to finally gain the patience to learn how to knit. I don't know what the struggle, well, part of it was, I do know what part of the struggle was. Part of the struggle was, I started off with some very icky feeling plastic knitting needles that were by Lion Brand back in the day. They don't even sell them anymore, that's how bad they were. But they were like these clear plastic things. They were yellow, and then they had like a white tube in the middle, I guess, for carbon, like for structure or something. But they did not feel great in the hands. And the yarn I used was this Bernat yarn. It was fuzzy. It came from the Dollar Tree. It wasn't like eyelash yarn, but it was almost corded, and it just felt, it was not great. And I couldn't tell you to this day why I decided to use those things to start learning a new craft with, but nonetheless, I did, and I suffered for it. That project, I think I cast on, and then I was able to knit, like with regular knit stitches, a couple of rows, and it sat in a mason jar for a very long time, until I threw it away, like maybe a couple years later. So there was that. But anyway, a couple years later, I did decide to take on the challenge again, and I got it. Purling was a nightmare in the beginning. I hated it very much so. I used to complain about it all the time. But with ample practice, I was able to really pick up on it and do it with ease, especially after I started maneuvering my yarn differently from how I was trying to initially do it. So, fun part about my fiber arts journey is that I am self-taught. Like I mentioned last time, YouTube University is an excellent school. So yeah, I am self-taught through videos, and so one video, and I don't remember the name of this little lady, but one video caught on to me particularly when I typed in how to knit, and it was this little old lady, and the way she was just moving the needles and the yarn clicked for me, and so I started to mimic that, and it worked out just fine. Now, fast forward to a few years later, by this point I had established my YouTube channel and whatnots, and I decided that I wanted to cover basics of knitting eventually, and I wanted to show other people how to knit. So I started doing that, and in the early stages of my channel, I was trying to figure out what social media platform I wanted to expand on. At that point, I'd already had a Facebook page and a Instagram page that I was using, and so I was trying to figure out another platform that I wanted to share my material on, and Infiniti, not knowing truly the other parts of the internet, decided to settle for Reddit. I had a Tumblr. However, I got bored with Tumblr after a while, so I was like, it's time to move on, graduate to newer, better things. And at first, being on Reddit was cool when I was posting my crochet stuff, but then I made the tragic I made the tragic mistake of posting one of my knitting clips to Reddit. Now, some of you might be like, oh my god, you poor thing, and some of y'all might not understand, but when I tell you that, people on the internet can be quite humbling. When I posted that clip of me knitting on Reddit, I got roasted. And I was like, I didn't realize that people could be so nasty in the fiber community, because I'd never run into that before. And it really had me kind of upset and devastated at that time, because I was like, oh, I finally figured out how to do this thing, and now I'm knitting something, and I want to show it off, and then just to have some, like, middle-aged, upset lady nitpicking, no pun intended, about how I was knitting. And I felt bad, and so when I continued to do my knitting tutorials, that's why a lot of my earlier knitting tutorials have that disclaimer of, I might wrap my yarn differently from you, but, if that doesn't bother you, then feel free. And for years, that kind of stuck with me, and I was like, well, dang, maybe I don't knit properly. Maybe I don't need to do knitting content. And then it's funny, because when you do content creation and you start introducing new types of content, it doesn't always pick up immediately. So my views on those videos were very low at the time, and I didn't understand that aspect. One of the things that comes along with growing a channel. But anyway, so I was feeling kind of discouraged about it, basically, and I thought about, like, not doing knitting tutorials anymore, and I think I started skipping out on doing them a little bit, and it didn't seem to make a difference to me at the time. So I was like, well, people really didn't want to see that anyway, so. But eventually, I was like, no, I really like knitting, so let me pick it back up and continue to do it. And so I started publishing my videos again, and then they started picking up more traction and things like that. But I would still put that disclaimer in there. And then, finally, a few years later, fast forward, at the end of 2021, I'm going to say it's around October or November, I was browsing on YouTube, and this video popped up about combination knitting, and I had ignored it for quite a while, because you see random stuff pop up and you put in your save for later, you refuse to click it, but then YouTube is like, no, you saved this, so you're going to watch it. So it was one of those things, and I watched it, and when I tell you, I almost like teared up a little bit, because I realized that that's what I was doing. Now, to go back to when I learned how to knit, the tutorial just said how to knit for beginners. It didn't say anything about there being an English style or a continental style, or even this combination knitting thing. So I was like, oh my gosh, I flick my needles like that. So that's my label for that. And then not long after that, I ran across a video talking about continental knitting, and I was just watching it while working on I think I was working on that birthday sweater, the entrelac birthday sweater, which is knitted. And I was noting how they moved the yarn and how they wrapped the yarn around the needle, and I'm like, wait a minute, something looks familiar here. And so it wasn't until literally 2 years ago that I learned that I was a continental knitter, and that I've been okay this whole time. It's just that I didn't know. So that was a very heartwarming moment for me, and it kind of validated me in a sense. So since then, I have properly been labeling my tutorials as continental style, so that people don't misunderstand and I don't get all that like flack in my comment section. I was like, you know, nobody wants to wake up to bullcrap on the internet. So that was my thing, and it might not have been as big of a deal as it felt in my mind, but like for a while there I was really feeling that self-doubt, because I'm like, here I am designing stuff and making patterns, and I don't know how to knit, but the stuff looks the same as everybody else, so I don't really understand. And so it was just a thing in here that I had to get over and get around, and it was really gratifying once I learned that I actually had a label to how I was knitting, and that I wasn't just reinventing the wheel. But I was pretty sure at some point along there I wasn't, because like there's nothing new under the sun. So, you know, I knew there was somebody else out there that knit like me, and that was also another reason why I continued to do knitting tutorials, because I'm like, I'm not the only one that does this. Clearly there's somebody out there that has to be doing this like me, and so I'm going to appeal to that crowd if nobody else. And it worked out. I've gotten several comments of, you know, people saying, I knit just like you, and this one lady, one time, she was like, yeah, I kept knitting the way that I do just out of spite, because I guess she was around a bunch of like English style knitters and they were giving her crap about it. I don't know, but that was really fun to read. That's been a while ago now. But all of that can really just go back to the whole crafting should be kind thing, you know, give people a little grace and mercy and whatnot while they're out here crafting. And some people, they don't do this for a job or anything. They don't do this to try to build a brand. They do it just to sit back and unwind and have a good time and maybe fellowship with other people. And so they're not looking for all the drama. So just, you know, be nice to one another. That's all. 1, 2. I can't count. But anyway, be nice to one another. So that's it for my dramatic knitting story and how I almost like got discouraged into not knitting. Darn Reddit. But anyway, I am going to show you guys the pot for today. And her name is Nia. Feeling on this one, I think I know which one it is. So, this one did not sneak up on me like yesterday's did. But I think you guys will like this one. Yep. She's another one of my airbrushed pieces. This combination of blue and green was fantastic. And funny story behind it, my professor had a piece with these two colors on it, and of course his turned out to be brighter and more vibrant than mine did, and I was in awe by it, and I wanted to buy it off of him, but he wouldn't sell it to me. But he did tell me the glaze combination, which in the pottery world, if another potter gives you their glaze combination, that is solid friendship right there, because potters infamously do not like to share their combinations, far and in between. But anywho, this is Nia. She is one of the pieces where I dipped her in a vat of glaze. So we have these big buckets of glaze that we mix up, and then we can just dip most of our pieces, and that's what I do by and large. Last semester I got to experiment with the airbrush, and so I airbrushed on this very lovely blue, and I did write down the combination so I can go back and remake this look that I am in love with. This is the same glaze that is on Arabella, which is one of the crochet hook holders that I released back in the first round of updates. I'll pop a picture up here so you can see it, but same glaze combo, different fading effect. I think I went a little light on the airbrushing here. I probably should have held it longer, but I'll play with that idea a little bit next go around as I get to it. These pieces were coated in cone 6. So they were fired to cone 6, which is just your standard firing, but nonetheless still very durable, still glass, and still porcelain. So yeah, this one is available on my website. This one obviously holds crochet hooks. It could also be a pen cup. I don't know. I feel like there's one of these short ones that I put knitting needles in, and I was shocked that it held knitting needles, and I don't know if it's this one or not. Anywho, if you want to see the pictures of this one in different angles and in some neutral lighting. I will have the link for Nia in the description box below, so you can head over there and check her out. Like I said, this month I am running a sale in the handmade shop. I put a community poll out there. You guys said you wanted me to run a sale, so here we are. Again, that code is BTS23, and you can get 15% off your entire purchase, and then of course orders over $125 get free shipping. So there's that. Thanks for tuning in with me today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and until next time, guys, happy making.